What's up, design family, and welcome back to another episode of Fittdesign TV. So glad to have you back on the channel. On today's episode, I'll be running you guys through my top 6 favorite waistband designs for sportswear. With so many options to choose from, it can be confusing as to where to start. And I'll be running you guys through these waistbands, looking at how they can enhance the functionality of your sportswear, the beauty of your sportswear, and ultimately bearing in mind that the key functions of any waistband are to hold the garment up, to support at the waist, and potentially to ornament and push a design forward. Like I said, there are a ton of options to choose from, so where do we start? I'll give you guys the pros and cons of my top 6. That way, by the end of this episode, you can make an educated decision on which is going to be right for you. Hey guys, and welcome to Fittdesign TV. So glad to have you here. On this channel, we discuss all things sports fashion, graphic design, manufacturing, and technology. We'll discuss key topics, answer pressing questions, and provide actionable steps on starting your own product line. If you're interested in any of the above topics, stick around. You're in for a good one. So going right into it, number 1 is going to be our regular non-contoured waistband type. How do we make this? It's quite simple. It's a flat waistband. Essentially, it looks like a long rectangle. We fold it along its top axis and it's attached to the waist. A regular waistband can be made out of a variety of fabrics. Obviously, it can be made out of self-body fabric. It can be made out of a rib knit fabric. It can be made out of a mesh fabric. It depends on your specific design. When it comes to the pros and cons, one of the major things that a regular waistband has going for it is that it's so simple to make. This simplicity offers a versatility. You can make it in factories that have high capabilities, and you can go to relatively smaller factories that have much lower capabilities. So it's a detail that you can pretty much find anywhere. You can even make it at home if you have some experience with basic sewing. It's also quite an affordable detail because of this. The construction techniques that go into creating a regular waistband are not that complex and are quite readily available. You don't actually need that many specialized tools to create it. Just scissors and a regular sewing machine. And then lastly, it's quite a versatile type of detail. You can have it, like I mentioned, in self-body fabric, depending on what that may be. If your garment isn't a high stretch garment, I wouldn't recommend having it in self-body fabric. You can have it in a rib knit fabric. So it does offer itself to a variety of different compositions. When it comes to the cons of a regular waistband, because of its simplistic construction, it's really not offering much in terms of contouring or shaping of the garment. So if your garment is fitted incorrectly, like you have too much fabric on the waistline, you're going to notice a very ugly looking puckering effect. And at the same time, if your garment isn't fitted correctly, you may have this extra bit of fabric that is just hanging off of the waist, as that tube or like that tube-like construction of the regular waistband is just hanging around the edges of the fabric. Or on the other hand, if it's too tight, because of this lack of elasticity and this straight up and down construction, you're going to have what is known as a muffin top effect, and that's not something anyone wants. So it is a waistband type that really isn't lenient when it comes to the fit, and that is something to consider. So if you are going for a regular waistband, make sure that you're using a high stretch material for the waistband and that the garment is fitted correctly. The second waistband that we're going to be describing today is a contouring waistband. This is a waistband that we see quite commonly on ladies' sports apparel, and it differs from a regular waistband in its construction. It's a lot more complex in its construction, whereas with a regular waistband, you just have a rectangular piece of fabric that is folded along its axes to create this tube-like structure. With a contour waistband, the front and the back patterns are cut separately, and they're cut in this almost quarter circle-like fashion, and once they're attached from the front and the back pattern piece, it creates a width on the hips that tapers in towards the waist, and this is what creates this streamlined and flattering effect. When it comes to the pros of a contouring waistband, as I mentioned, this contour-like structure, which kind of goes from out to in, shapes the hips, shapes the waist, and it creates a flattering and streamlined look to the wearer. It's very popular on women's apparel, and there's a good reason for that. At the same time, it also provides more compression as it releases towards the hips and it kind of compresses towards the waist. It also helps to pull the body fat in and just create a more streamlined and aesthetic look to the garment. Because of this more complex construction method and the fact that actually between sizes you need to have a professional pattern maker who knows what they're doing, who understands how to actually craft a garment, how to fit a garment, you need to be able to make different patterns with different angles, different sizes for these front and back contour patterns between sizes. So there's a lot more expertise that actually goes into creating a contour waistband, and a lot more time that is spent upfront planning the pattern pieces, making sure that it's fitted correctly, but the end result is definitely something that is desirable. But as a result of this more complex construction, what you end up with is longer lead times on these types of waistbands, and this leads to higher costs per unit. Third on the list in terms of waistbands that you'll definitely want to consider if you're in the sportswear space is going to be a Jacquard waistband. This type of waistband can either be woven or it can be knitted, and it opens up a world of opportunities. It's actually because of this more open-ended construction technique that Jacquard waistbands are made from, whether it's a woven waistband or a knitted waistband, that brings in a lot of a lot of the benefits of using a Jacquard knit waistband. You can pretty much knit or weave any design that you want into the waistband, and it's extremely durable because it's actually knitted into the waistband. It won't wear away over time, and it's something that you can use on high durability garments, sportswear pieces, and a lot of these weaves or these knits are actually done with latex or spandex in the construction. This allows them to have high stretch and high reboundability, which creates a garment that is highly compressive. They're extremely popular on base layer pieces, on thermal pieces, and just pieces that need a tight second skin feel. It's precisely because of this Jacquard weaving and knitting technique that we get a option that, yes, performs extremely well, opens up a world of opportunities in terms of design and decoration, but at the same time, this type of construction actually requires specialized machinery. The factories that are going to be cutting and sewing your garments are not necessarily going to be the factories that are making these waistband trims. They have to be outsourced, and they have to be sent to factories that have specialized machinery specifically tailored towards these kinds of trims. As a result of this, what you end up with is higher cost per unit. You actually are paying extra for these waistbands. You also end up with much higher MOQs, as these factories have to fulfill their own minimum order quantities, and you also end up with a piece that potentially takes longer to make in the long run. There's also an idea that these are woven and knitted constructions. They're also constructions that have latex in them. Because of this, you end up with the potential to snag on these pieces and potentially have them to be unraveled. I'm sure you guys have seen the strap or the elastic strap that has its latex threads coming out, and that's not something you want. Again, this can be avoided by going for a great quality, but it is a potential drawback of this type of waistband. Number 4 is a casing style waistband. This is the first of the two elasticated waistbands that we're going to be describing today, and it's the simpler one to make. It's essentially a regular waistband with an elastication line running through. The extra fabric gathers together and it creates this elastication effect, and the elastication line on the inside allows the garment to flex and stretch. Ultimately, the quick and simple construction method of a casing style waistband offers you an easy way to add versatility to your garment. Because of the high stretch capability, you're creating a garment that can fit a variety of body types, that has high stretch capabilities, and can be quite flattering if done correctly. It's precisely because of this open construction technique that a casing style waistband can actually be quite bulky if done incorrectly. If you have too much fabric that is gathering at the waist, you end up with just a lot of puffiness. There's no top stitching, and this leads to just an unsightly effect, a very cheap looking waistband, and it's very important to get it done correctly. Also, this open construction means that it's quite easy to actually undo this waistband if you cut into it or if it gets snagged on something. So it is a type of waistband that's quite unsecure, especially if it's performed and constructed the wrong way. Number 5, we have our elasticated waistband. This is quite similar to our casing style waistband in its core construction, except it differs in the sense that it may have 2 or 3 additional elastication lines that are held in place with a top stitch. Because of this specific construction technique, it offers a lot of the advantages that the casing method offers. Yes, it offers high stretch, it's also versatile in terms of the types of fits it can accommodate, but because of these additional stitch lines, it offers a much more tailored and pristine approach. You don't get as much fabric bulk because you're actually taking the excess fabric and you're stitching it down, creating a much more flat and streamlined look to the garment. This gives it a more tailored and professional appearance. When it comes to the cons, on the other hand, because of this extra work that has to go into creating a elasticated waistband, what you end up with is a more expensive waistband to make, and one that takes longer, and one that requires more expertise. So there's definitely that to it. I did mention that it looks much more pristine and streamlined, but it does have a sporty association because it's typically seen on higher end sportswear garments. As a result of this, you end up not seeing this much in the lifestyle and the more casual segment of sportswear. Last but not least, when it comes to different types of waistbands that you should be considering for sportswear design, this is a little bit of a wild card, not one that you may have assumed. And it's simple in the sense that it's a separating open fly waistband. The easiest way to describe this is to take a pair of formal pants or even jeans. It's based on a regular style waistband with an open fly in the middle, typically constructed using a zipper enclosure and a button enclosure. Because of the more formal history and the connotations this type of waistband has, because you see it on denim, you also see it on suit pants, it has a much more tailored and professional appearance. So it can be used on those types of garments that you're trying to push into the luxury space or into the more everyday wear type of space. If you think of Lululemon's everyday pant, this is a great type of waistband to have. Also, if you have quite a fitted and formal look at the waist, it's a type of construction that offers very easy maneuverability because you can unzip it, you can get in and out of the waistband quite easily, and at the same time still have that tailored and quite specific fit at the waist. Because of this more complex construction technique, it's definitely a waistband that's going to require more time to make, a higher level of expertise from a factory perspective, and also a longer lead time. So this added cost, because of the extra zipper, because of the extra button, also makes it a unviable option, especially for a startup brand. There's definitely a lot more complexity there. So we tend to see this on more of the luxury consumer goods, specifically tailored towards a higher end and a more mature market. At the same time, there is this unforgivingness about it if the garment is fitted incorrectly. So if it's too tight, tough luck. You're not going to be able to get in and out of it. It offers almost no stretch. Usually with these types of waistbands, you see belt loops. And if you don't have a belt loop and the garment is too wide, you're not going to be able to adjust it and it's going to be falling off the waist. Well, that is pretty much it, guys. That has been my top 6 waistband types. Hopefully you guys have seen 1 or 2 options in there that you feel would be the appropriate one for your next collection, and maybe you've seen a couple in there that work for you. There are no right options and there are no wrong options when it comes to selecting a waistband. There's only the one that works for you, your budget, and the specific design that you're going for. At the end of the day, you definitely have to have fun with it. You have to create a design that you feel speaks to your brand and can offer something genuine to your consumers whilst still functioning the way it needs to. Guys, if you enjoyed this quick video, let us know in the comments below. Let us know what types of topics you want to see next. Smash a thumbs up, it really does help us out. It lets others see these videos and keeps us motivated to keep creating. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Fittdesign TV. Until next week's episode, stay awesome.